Okay, the next lesson is have no fear. Rise and have no fear in the face of mountaintop experiences, in the face of difficulties, in the face of challenges. Now, my favorite story when it comes to have no fear is also kind of the American dream, but this has to do with my very good friend from college. We met and became really good friends when we were writing together for Andrews University. I went to Andrews, and I used to write promo material and newspaper articles, magazine articles, that kind of thing for the union paper, for the local papers, and for the university, basically. And I had a friend, his name was Aaron Beaumont, who wrote alongside me. Really, really talented guy from near Chicago, Rockford, Illinois. And Aaron was just very, very talented at playing the piano and singing. And in college, he didn't really do enough with it. He played in a band, he toured Europe with another good friend of mine, Nick Zork, but he never really went for music. And I remember towards the end of college, he had already graduated and he'd come back to visit me among other people. And he said, listen, Bjorn, I'm thinking about doing something with my music finally. I'm thinking about doing something with my music. And so we were sitting in his car in the parking lot by one of the guys' dorms. And he was like, let me play you this demo stuff. And so he turned the stereo on and played me this kind of a weird 1920s kind of jazz saloon rock sound with really good lyrics, like the kind of stuff that is so the opposite of what you hear today on the radio, like this senseless, just like mindless drivel. But more like really uplifting stuff that you felt good about life. You wanted to help people. You wanted to do good things with your life when you heard this music. He played this stuff to me, and it sounded phenomenal. And I said, Aaron, you've got to do something with this. You've got to go for this. And Aaron is very talented, but he's a little timid sometimes. Like, well, this isn't the final version, this and that. And I said, well, go with it. You have to do something with it. So Aaron moved to Nashville. Now, those of you that are into music, you musicians that were up here, you know that Nashville is one of the music meccas here in the U.S. So he moved to Nashville and started mingling with artists. He started playing his stuff at open mics. He started performing in different places. And people started to tell Aaron, you've got a gift here. You're doing well. And I stayed on the phone there with him. I said, you've got to keep pushing here. Keep going. He would get discouraged and say, oh, I don't know how to get a label. I don't know how to produce my CD. I don't know how to get my songs going. But I told him, you got to keep going. You got to keep going. You got to push. You can do this. So he did keep going. And then I finished college and moved out to California. I moved to Southern California. And after about a year of my working in Southern California, Aaron said, listen, I'm coming out. He wanted to try his luck in Hollywood. And then I said, you know what? If you're coming out, let's start rooming together, because we were good friends in college. And we found a place in Hollywood. And we said, okay, we're gonna start off here, and I was gonna do my job, and he was gonna do his music. And so Aaron comes to Hollywood, and he starts playing there. And I went to his first shows, and it would be like 7 people there to start with, and it would just be depressing. And I would, I went to one show where it looked like he'd given up halfway through, because people just weren't there supporting him. But I told him, Aaron, you've got a gift. You're just as talented as anyone out there. You've got to keep going. And so we pushed and pushed, and it feels like God's lesson of have no fear started to sink in with Aaron. So he kept on going, he kept on playing, he kept on mingling with artists. And then he started to have great shows. One of the shows he played at, and then a few acts later, John Mayer came up and played at the same mic. So everybody started to take notice. I mean, like, Aaron is starting to make the big time here. He got the notice of people that play with John Mayer. I mean, John Mayer came up to play with his friends. And we thought, oh my goodness, Aaron's really starting to make it. So I'm a PR guy, basically. I studied PR in college. So I started emailing everybody I knew and their mother, basically, to start coming to his shows. And they started to come, and he started to get notice. And he kept on playing, he kept on mingling, and he started to get to know the names. He pushed away that fear that tells you, and it tells everyone here, I can't do this, it's too scary, I can't make it in life. And he pushed that away, and he said, God has a plan for me, God has a plan for my music. And I remember it verged on the comical. He would have shows, and Hollywood shows are not necessarily the most spiritual experience you'll have in your life, But he made them so. He made them so. He would have tons of people there, and then he would stop in the middle of his songs and say, well, I support an organization called ADRA, so if you give me money tonight, I'm going to buy a goat with it. And so, and for someone in Tanzania or whatever. And so he would be making a good, positive impression in the midst of Hollywood at one of the top music venues, Hotel Cafe. And so Aaron kept going. And then a few months ago, I got the news that he placed 3 songs on MTV. He had played on local radio, on FM radio in LA, and he landed a record label. He got onto a record label. And the latest news is he got written up in LA Weekly, and if those of you guys that know LA know that is the top entertainment magazine in Los Angeles. He got written up by the guy that launched Beck and Elliott Smith, the one that made them huge, who basically said he's the new Elton John. And this is Aaron Beaumont, an Adventist from Rockford, Illinois, who's done this, who pushed away his fear. He's a young guy, and he's determined to live his art and to live his faith in Hollywood. So don't be afraid. Get up, do not be afraid, and keep going in the face of obstacles, in the face of a life that you want to live, but that looks challenging and looks looming just kind of in the distance, but you want to push on. Don't be afraid to push on. Jesus says, get up and keep going. And perhaps the most significant angle on all this is what happens right after that. Because when he says, rise and have no fear, the disciples have faith and they step up. And when they lifted up their eyes, they saw no one but Jesus only. They saw no one but Jesus only. That is the genius of the Christian experience. That is the genius, that kind of focus. Because at the end of it all, Jesus is all that matters. At the end of it all, God is all that matters. He transcends everything. He is the most important thing in life, and he is the one that sticks by you when everybody else has let you down, when everybody else has forsaken you. One person remains, and that is Jesus. They saw Jesus only. Rise up, get going, and get focused. I feel like Jesus is saying to us today, God is saying to us today, Jesus can be our focus, and Jesus will pull us through.